Surface Go or Surface No? Let's find out. What's up, YouTube? Mike here again, and I like big screens, and I cannot lie until I met the Surface Go. This thing has really kind of changed my perception and way of thinking when it comes to having a larger display, what you can do with a smaller display, and just the ultra portable devices and just the benefit of them. So let's start my review of this thing. Now, as you can already tell from my little intro that I really like this thing. Going around this tablet, let's talk about the build and the hardware. Now, this is nothing more than a miniaturized, shrunk down Surface Pro. So if you're familiar with the Surface Pro line, this is essentially a miniature Surface Pro. So the build is the same magnesium aluminum build. It is a really nice build. Around this thing though, you are very constrained on your ports. It's got one USB Type-C port, one Surface Connect port, and a headphone jack, and that is it. So there's not many ports, but you do have a micro USB port, and that of course allows you to expand the storage. Now the model that I'm looking at right now is the 128 gigabyte model with 8 gigs of RAM. There is a smaller variant that's only 64 gigabytes with 4 gigs of RAM, but I figured that I would need that extra RAM, so I went ahead and got the bigger model. So continuing with the hardware, this thing is the display. It's got a 10-inch PixelSense display. It is a really nice display. It's the 1800 by 1200 resolution, so it's about 217 pixels per square inch. It's got a 3:2 aspect ratio, which Microsoft likes to do with their Surface lines, and I kind of prefer that aspect ratio, to be honest with you. And of course, this is a touch display, and it's the Gorilla Glass 3 on it. And now also with the hardware, and one of my favorite things about any Surface device is the infinite kickstand. Now, this is essentially the predecessor to the Surface 3. Now, the Surface 3 only had 3 different locations that you could adjust the kickstand. And with this one, they went ahead and put the infinite kickstand, where it's just like the bigger Surface Pros, and you can go almost all the way down flat. And it's a very stiff kickstand, very nice design. I wish iPads would actually somehow include a kickstand like this on it. It's actually one of my favorite features of this Surface device, or any Surface, to be honest with you. Okay, so now that we looked at the hardware of this thing, let's talk about the specs. And really, this is what is going to make a lot of people either buy this or not. And like I said, in my unboxing of this, I've watched a lot of videos on this, and it's about half and half. So half the folks say that this device sucks, it's just terrible, don't buy it. And the other half have nothing but good things to say about it. And to be honest with you, after having used this, I'm leaning toward the half where this is a really good device. Now, obviously, you've got to recognize the limitations of it. You're not going to be gaming on this thing. You're not going to be doing graphic design or video editing, but anything else, productivity-wise, playing Windows games, this thing really performs like a champ. Now, as far as what's inside this thing, of course, it comes with Windows 10s, but you can upgrade to free for Windows 10 Home. You used to be able to upgrade to Windows 10 Pro, but Microsoft did away with that. So if you want to go to Pro, now you got to pay $99. But you can upgrade this to Home, and that's the first thing I did when I fired this up. To be honest with you, I didn't even try Windows S. I don't really understand the point of 10s, because nobody in their right mind is going to keep that when you can just upgrade for free and download any program you want. Because I got to say, the Windows App Store is still kind of a wasteland. I mean, there's apps there, but there's also a lot of garbage apps. So having the ability to actually download any program you want is a must-have and a necessity. So the weight of this thing, it's only about a pound. I mean, you add the keyboard, pen, it's maybe 2 pounds max. I don't know the exact weight, but it's extremely light. Now, obviously, if 2 pounds is too much for you, then I guess maybe you should go to the gym or something. But really, you're going to have no issues with the weight of this thing. My air conditioner just kicked on, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Now, I already talked about the storage. Now, the other benefit of getting the larger model that I got over the smaller one is there's 2 different drives in it. So you get the eMMC drive if you get the 64 gigabytes, which is actually marketably slower than what you get if you get the 128 gigabyte drive, which is an actual SSD. All right, so next let's talk about the processor that's running this thing. And this is where a lot of the gripes are. But to be honest with you, I think it's a good chip. I think it performs well, but it's the Intel Pentium Gold processor is what they call it. But it goes up to 1.6 gigahertz, and that's pretty much it. So you're stuck at 1.6 gigahertz. As I was playing with this, I brought up Task Manager and watched it. In a lot of cases, it would just go to that 1.6 gigahertz and stay there. So I haven't seen anything that actually makes this throttle. It didn't get too hot. It did get a little warm when I was installing stuff, but never uncomfortably hot. But honestly, I think this chip performs well. All right, next, let's talk about the cameras on this thing. Now, believe it or not, this has actually got some pretty good cameras. It's got a 5 megapixel front camera, an 8 megapixel rear camera, and it actually does pretty darn good. Now, the front camera is actually really good because also you can do Windows Hello, which is one of my favorite Windows 10 features, and especially on any Surface device, it works flawless and it works really fast. To be honest with you, I haven't had any login issues with this ever since I did the initial setup where it scanned my face. It works really quick, really efficiently, and honestly, I've had no issues with it. Now, I will show you a couple camera samples of this. I took a few pictures outside just playing around with it, tested the front camera and the rear camera, and they're actually not terrible. Now, obviously, you're not going to use this to shoot, 4K videos or anything because it only does 1080p, but for doing like Skype calls or Hangout or whatever your flavor is, it'll actually do really well with that. And honestly, one of the best uses I could see about this device is kind of maybe using it out if you're like a realtor or somebody, you need to take videos, scan documents. I mean, just the portability and the capability of this would be perfect for anybody who does kind of mobile work stuff. This is a test of the front-facing camera recording. Video seems to be pretty good. Alright, this is a test of the rear-facing camera video. Now moving on, as far as the speakers of this, they're supposedly Dolby Audio. They're front-facing speakers, but I think they actually sound really good. I think they're loud, they sound crisp to me, and I have no issues with the sound of this whatsoever. The graphics are actually the same graphics chip that's in the HP Chromebook X2 that I reviewed, and it's the 615, so it's the HD Graphics 615. And really, they're not that great, but depending on what you do, obviously, if you're going to try and game with this, it's not really going to work. Other than like if you do your Asphalt 8 and that kind of stuff, your normal mobile games. All right, so next let's talk about battery life. Now, this is kind of really one of my only gripes with this device, but Microsoft quotes that you'll get 9 hours of battery if you do continuous playback on a video. And to be honest with you, in real world use, I use this and I'm only getting between 4 hours to 6 hours on the high side. Now, I leave the screen and everything. It was at the suggested settings, the suggested power settings, and I was getting, honestly, between 4 and 6, depending on what I was doing. So I've ran this from 100% to 0 probably about 3 times now. And to be honest with you, I averaged about 4 to 6 hours, which really is a disappointment. But having this USB-C actually can kind of take the sting off of it, because I actually used a external battery pack and I charged it while I was at work, and it actually did a pretty decent job of charging it. Now, they say you can charge this thing from 0 to 100 in about 2.5 hours, and I found that that's actually pretty true. So battery really is kind of what's not the greatest on this, and really my only gripe with this thing at all. Okay, so along with performance, of course, this has got the optional pen, and the pen is actually excellent. Now, this is, I guess, the 6th iteration of Surface devices, and Microsoft has just perfected it. Really, the pen is awesome. It's got just the right amount of friction to me. I mean, it magnetizes to the side. You're not going to lose it. What's the weather today?
The forecast shows rain with a high of 69 and a low of 65. Right now, It's lightly raining and 65.
The bummer is it's sold separately, but the pen performs excellent, to be honest with you. I have no gripes with the pen. No lag. Jitter is almost none. So if you're an artist and a note taker, I honestly think you will love this pen. So if you've used the actual Surface Pro, which is basically the Surface Pro 5, the pen performs just as well. I mean, it's really good. I actually really recommend it. And then finally is the optional keyboard, which it's not really optional. You've got to have this keyboard. So with performance, again, this is like the 5th or 6th iteration of the Surface type cover, and it's just perfect. I mean, even with my big hands, I have no issues whatsoever typing on this. It took me a little bit to get used to, but honestly, after typing on this for probably 30 minutes or so, I started to get in the groove. But the key travel is really nice. The trackpad has actually got a glass coating, and I actually really like this Alcantara fabric. And this keyboard is actually backlit. It's got 3 levels of backlight. So to be honest with you, Microsoft has made the Surface type cover perfect. Now that's whether you're rocking the Surface Pro or the Surface Go. The type cover is just perfect. I mean, I don't know how Microsoft could honestly make it any better. All right, so what do all those specs equate to? I mean, the performance, obviously. So like I said before, the performance on this is really solid. I mean, I typically run about 10 chromes at a time. I mean, I haven't even really played with Edge because I'm a Chrome guy. So some of the negative videos that I saw said that, yeah, if you install Chrome on this, it's not going to work. After 3 or 4 tabs, it's going to be buggy. And I'll tell you right now that that's bull crap. I mean, Chrome runs on this just fine. Like I said, I generally will have about 10 tabs open at a time going between YouTube and just whatever random site. And honestly, I didn't see any slowdowns. And then if you happen to have the Surface Dock, which I bought one like a year and a half ago when it came out, and it works with this just fine. And I'll show you a demo, but I was running 2 separate displays off of this using the Surface Dock, and a couple times it lagged a little bit, but that's to be expected. But to be honest with you, it ran it just fine. And then if you just run 1 display instead of 2, there's no issues whatsoever. So honestly, if you buy this for a mobile device, when you come home, you can either use the USB-C port to connect it to a monitor, or if you happen to have a Surface Dock, to connect it to a monitor. And it works great, especially if you're going to do things like Microsoft Office or watch YouTube. So you can have up on a big monitor so you don't have this little display, and it honestly performs really well. I was kind of shocked at how good this does at running external displays. Okay, so last thing I really want to talk about is the price. And to be honest with you, that is kind of the Achilles heel of this device, but there are ways that you can save money. So I'm going to break it down for you, and I'll try and show you a graphic while I'm talking to kind of keep track of this. But the price of this right now, if you were to get the 64 gigabyte model, it's $399, or this model that I have is $549. So there are deals out there. Like if you are a student or military, you can go to the Microsoft website and you can get the smaller version for $379, and you can get the larger version for $541. So that's actually not a bad price for the hardware. But the problem is when you got to add in the pen or the type cover. So my biggest gripe with the price, and every YouTuber who reviewed this will agree with me, is that the keyboard should be bundled in the price. Because once you start adding the keyboard and the pen, it starts taking the word budget and throwing that out the window. So you take budget and value, you add the accessories, it's not there when it comes to price. But I digress. But going on to the type cover, there's multiple options. So you can get the Alcantara one, which is what I have, and it'll cost you $129. Or if you go to Microsoft, again, use the student deal, you can save a few bucks and it'll be $123. Or you can order just the plain black one, which has the exact same functionality, and it's $99. And you can actually get it between $81 and $95, depending on if you go to Microsoft or on Amazon. There's a seller who's selling the black ones for $81. So there are ways to start shaving the cost up, and I'll show you the breakdown. And then, of course, next you go to the pen. So the most recent iteration of the pen is going to cost you $99. But for whatever reason, at Best Buy, the cobalt color or blue one costs 75 bucks, and it's only this pen. I don't know why it's on sale when it's the exact same as all the others. Just maybe this color just didn't sell as well, but you can get this at Best Buy for 75 bucks. So that's going to save you 25 bucks right there. And then, of course, depending on where you buy it, you're going to have to pay tax. So in my case, I bought everything at Best Buy, and my tax for everything was about 50 bucks. So you got to tack that onto the price as well. So looking at these prices, I'll break it down. So I paid for the pen, keyboard, and device, plus tax, it was about 804 bucks. So for $800, you can get a pretty darn good Ultrabook. But again, you're buying this for the portability and just the functionality and the build quality, to be honest with you. But there are ways to save money, like I said. So you can go ahead and you can cut out the pen, because most people probably won't use this. And that's going to drop your price down to about 714 bucks. Now that's from Microsoft. At Best Buy, you drop the pen, it's going to be about 698 bucks. And then you can also, again, not buy this cover, get the black one. That's going to save you 30 bucks. So basically the prices without the fancy cover or the pen will be about 690 or 698, depending on what you go with. So as you can see, you can start making the price come down. And then the third option, you can either get it at Microsoft or Best Buy. If you go to B&H Photo, Google their website, you'll find them. You pay zero tax depending on what state you live in. So that's going to save another 50 bucks. So if you went with B&H, you didn't get a pen, and you used a black type cover, you can get this for 648 bucks. To be honest with you, that is actually a fair price for this thing. I'm not going to dispute it. I mean, the build quality is phenomenal. I mean, it's a good device. It performs well. So 650 bucks is fair. So there are options out there where you can lessen the blow of this thing. So yes, the price is high, especially if you go maxed out like I did with the pen and the fancy keyboard and having to pay tax. You're looking at about 800 bucks. But like I said, there are other options. All right, so let's wrap this whole thing up. I've been rambling a lot about the price, but to be honest with you, the Surface Go is most definitely a go. I mean, I really like this device. I've enjoyed using it. I mean, Windows 10 has gotten really good. It's actually becoming my favorite OS. I used to kind of prefer Mac OS, but now, to be honest with you, I prefer Windows 10. It's just gotten really good. Like I said, the keyboard and pen are now excellent. Microsoft has perfected it. And you put the package together and it's awesome. It's just honestly a shame that the keyboard is not bundled with this device. If Microsoft would just at least bundle the black keyboard and give you the option to upgrade to the Alcantara, the price would be perfect. I think it would be right on the money. Now, like I said, the battery life on this is disappointing. But honestly, the ability to be able to use a battery pack and charge it via the USB-C kind of makes up for it, but you shouldn't have to do that. And then my second only complaint is the bezels on this. I mean, honestly, I got used to them after a while, but it just seems like some wasted screen. So if they could maintain this same form factor and at least cut a half inch off the bezels and just give you more screen real estate, it would be awesome. So maybe the second iteration. And then being able to dock this thing via USB-C or the Surface connector is also money. I mean, makes this thing add a whole nother layer of productivity. I mean, to be honest with you, this device is like the little Surface that could. I mean, like I said, my only two complaints were the price and the bezels and the battery, I guess. And like I said, as for the price, I mean, take words like budget or value and just throw them out the window when you add the accessories, unless you kind of go to B&H, don't get the pen, or downgrade the keyboard, and then you can kind of make up for it. Okay, so even with the high price, honestly, the build quality on this, the portability, and the performance, I mean, really make me recommend it if you got the money. Honestly, if you're interested in the device and you got the money, go for it. I mean, honestly, I think this is a great device, and I'm still kind of torn on if I want to return it or not. And honestly, is what is making me lean toward returning it is just the battery life. I just am so used to using Chromebooks now, I guess. I'm used to getting 8 to 10 hours of battery life without blinking. And if I could get at least 7 hours out of this, 8 hours, I would be more than happy. So I'm still torn on if I'm going to return this or not. I mean, if I do return it, it'll be just so I can buy it from B&H and save me some money. So with that, hopefully you guys enjoyed that review. I mean, I've got nothing but good things to say about this. So as always, if you've got any questions, shoot them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer it. And if you've not subscribed, please go and do so. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll know when I get new videos up and posted. So thanks for watching.